Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to present the quarterly update on TIBCO Labs. I guess we're getting to the end of the year. It was very, very surprising and almost crazy to say that, but happy to have everybody on this call and very happy to present what we've been doing throughout this year and also give you a sneak peek on a couple of activities that we've got coming up, as well as our focus areas for 2022. So, of course, just pop up this slide, make sure everything that I say is all official and whatnot. It's being recorded and everything. Just a quick snapshot of TIBCO for those of you that might be joining us for the first time. TIBCO is an enterprise software company really focused around developing solutions around how you manage your data for Fortune 500 organizations. So if you've ever shipped a package, taken a flight, been to a healthcare facility, chances are that there's TIBCO software helping you behind the scenes. We really focus on connecting information wherever it might be and moving that data to wherever it needs to go. We focus on making sure that you can make the information that you collect smarter through the use of analytics. And we also help in terms of how you manage your data, whether that's through master data management, metadata management, reference data management, data virtualization, and all those other technologies that you need when you're properly dealing with your data. So that's a little bit about TIBCO. At TIBCO Labs, we're really focused around innovation. So it's really around the opportunity for you when it comes to innovation. How are you going to use innovation to compete? How are you going to differentiate with innovation? How are you going to be unique? How are you going to change perception? And in the end, how are you going to provide better services and capabilities to your customers? So that really is a large part of what we focus on at TIBCO Labs. And when you look at us as an organization, we're really created a consolidation of activities between my particular team, the Office of the CTO, as well as the data science team. And it's a collaboration between our two organizations and you, customers and partners. So this allows you to interact with us, work with different areas of innovation, generate or look at different technologies, how you might actually use those technologies to solve certain business problems. It's really an opportunity for you to collaborate with TIBCO via the TIBCO Labs program around different areas of innovation. So it's been a very successful program. We've had really hundreds of different kinds of conversations. We've got multiple projects that we've kicked off, and I'm going to talk about a few of those highlights in this particular session. The one thing about TIBCO Labs is that it's very open source and community driven. A lot of the code and projects that we publish are available in GitHub through the open source community. We participate in different communities underneath things like the Linux Foundation. We make sure that a lot of the work that we do leverages and extends different open source frameworks. It's really around supporting open source and the community. And we participate in a number of different initiatives around that. And we also host a number of different programs and projects and sessions, including our very popular Open Source Day, Open Source Community Day, of which we have 2 of those planned for the upcoming year. So you want to make sure to watch us and check those things out. Now, this past year was, again, a little bit entertaining, right? As we can all imagine. I really like to be doing these sessions live one of these days, but last year was a little bit crazy, but it was a very, very exciting time for TIBCO Labs. When you look at what we achieved over this past year, the team did a fantastic job in a number of different areas. We had a number of new releases of various projects, whether that was related to things like Project AIR, Project Discover, Project Journey, and I'll explain what some of these things are here in a moment. But a lot of great work was put in by the team to develop and create these new releases in conjunction with our customers and partners. We released some new capabilities. One of the things that we released is what we call the TIBCO Labs Gallery. The gallery is a place on the TIBCO Cloud where you can go and actually start to try out some of our projects. So it's a very easy way for you to discover what our projects are with links to things like GitHub, and then also be able to provision and try these projects out. So that was quite exciting. We had a number of projects graduate from project status into what I call product status. So for those of you that attended our TIBCO Now conference, which is our big user conference that we have every year, of course, we announced 2 projects, both Project Cloud Starters, which now is known as TIBCO Cloud Composer, and also Project Discover. Those are 2 projects born from TIBCO Labs that have now graduated through the program, and there's enough work, interest, customer activity, and so on, where they've now taken that next step and now become full-blown products. And so that was very exciting for us as well. And again, that was done in conjunction with customers and partners. So the collaboration really led to that innovation. And then, of course, we had continued development in a number of different areas and also introduced new technology areas, some of which I will describe here shortly. Give you a quick screenshot of the Labs gallery. Again, this is available on TIBCO Cloud. Anybody that has a login to TIBCO Cloud has automatic access to the Labs gallery. So it's as simple as that. And as soon as you go in, you can browse through the different projects, see what we're working on, look at different artifacts as it relates to those projects. And as we evolve the Labs gallery, we'll offer the ability to try the different projects right there and then. So merely making it simple for you to look at and consume the technology. Now, in 2021, we had really 4 core focus areas. We offer a lot of different projects, and we tend to want to group those projects together into different higher level categories and capabilities, just to put some focus around them, and just to look at because we obviously can't focus on everything with all different technologies that are out there. So these are the ones that we focused on for 2021. So we had some core foundational technology projects, as well as a focus around IoT and edge analytics, a focus around automation, process mining, digital transformation, and then also a focus on digital twins. And so those were really the 3 core capabilities or categories that we had a lot of work around in 2021. So if I drill down on those a little bit, just to kind of give you an idea, the first one that we focused around was digital transformation through process mining. And a lot of details here, but this initiative is very much a customer-led initiative. So and these are some of the public use cases that we have, whether it's Invitalia, where we're collaborating with them on optimizing a number of different processes that they have internally, whether it's organizations like Hula, and they're another great organization. They actually even won an award at our last TIBCO Now conference. Hula is a hospital in Europe, in Spain, and they're really focused on optimizing the patient journey. And so we've been doing a lot of work with them as an organization through Project Discover and process mining techniques in order to help them improve their overall business processes and the processes that relates to a patient. So a lot of great work being done in this area. So digital transformation and process mining. Process mining is often a precursor to any digital transformation strategy. It's very hard to know what to optimize if you don't really know or have a good handle on what you're doing in the first place. And Project Discover with process mining is really meant to help you address that. So that's Project Discover. And as I mentioned, this one is now, as of TIBCO Now, officially scheduled to become a product in 2022. And it is really a capability that lets you connect to a bunch of different data sources, ingest all that data from those data sources, apply different algorithms against that data to correlate it together, to properly analyze it, to look to see how resources are being utilized and so on. And then it gives you a very rich analytical experience around that process data. So the goal here is to give you insights into your processes, your resources, any bottlenecks you might have, how many variants of a process you might be executing, and then allowing you to prioritize and focus in on those areas which are most relevant to you. Right, so a great precursor to any digital transformation strategy and a key element of any automation strategy that you might have as well. So the second one that I'll touch on is digital twins. A digital twin, the way we define it, is really any digital representation of an entity. And an entity can be a person, it can be a device, which is your typical definition of a digital twin. But it can be a person, it can be a business process, it can even be an organization. And so we've been doing a lot of work around architectures to support the notion of a digital twin. As you can imagine, there's a lot of information that a digital twin needs. There's data that needs to be analyzed to create analytical models, which then run in parallel with a real world entity, whether again, that's a person, a process, or something like a device. And so with the way we built out the architecture, and you can see it here on the screen, there's multiple layers that are involved when it comes to defining a digital twin. Whether that's how you collect the data, process the data, whether that's how you store information, whether that's how you correlate the information together, apply analytical models against it in order to generate actions and outcomes, or whether you want to extend that notion across a broader ecosystem of partners and really support multi-party processes, multi-party data sharing, multi-party AI/ML model execution. Right? These are all things that need to be incorporated into a digital twin. And so one of the things that we came up with was really around how can you leverage technologies like blockchain. And of course, it's not just blockchain in a public context, but it could just be simply distributed ledgers. It could be simply things like ledger databases. It could be capabilities around public-private keys. There's a number of associated technologies here that can definitely facilitate the creation of a digital twin architecture. And so Project Dovetail was one of the projects that we released to help support the creation of especially multi-party digital twin processes. And we've also been building out a number of different technologies in this area. So really around how do I build, create, support, maintain, run, all those things around a digital twin. Track and trace is a very typical use case when it comes to digital twins. So how do I track some key business object through multiple parties? And whether that's multiple companies in the shipment of a package, whether that is a combination of organizations along with governments and other regulatory bodies, and making sure that all my transactions are audited and tamper resistant. Those are the kinds of things that you can then incorporate into this type of an architecture. So a lot of work was done there. And then finally, the edge analytics area for us. And that is where I'm going to spend a little bit of time today because I have an exciting announcement that I want to make a little later in this session around edge analytics that I think you're really going to like. So just to touch upon that, Project AIR is our flagship project when it comes to IoT and edge analytics. And again, we've been working with organizations, and this is public as well, organizations like Intel, around how we can build an end-to-end capability to support connecting to devices, processing data from those devices at the edge, making sense against that on that data. So things like video processing or image analysis, or even just IoT device data transformation, streaming logic, things like that. How can I connect to devices, apply logic against it, and then forward that information to the cloud or other types of systems for further processing? Right, so this is where Project AIR really fits. It's meant to handle effectively that space between the edges, the edge devices themselves, along with things like gateways and so on, and then the cloud and either data center centric architectures and things like that, that might then also be receiving that IoT data. And so Project AIR is really a project that we've started to build out, and partnering with organizations like Intel and projects like their OpenVINO or video analytics serving capabilities, really bringing those capabilities together for an IoT and edge analytics solution. So IoT and edge analytics was a key focus for us. We're doing some great work with some customers in this area, really helping to further evolve the project. But one of the things we wanted to do is also introduce the very first ever TIBCO Labs Global Hackathon. So we're really excited about this. And so we wanted to make sure that, first of all, we were incorporating IoT, because we see IoT as becoming much more relevant and important to organizations, especially with the advent of things like 5G, and also the ability for, or the need for, actually, for devices to have a bit more autonomy in how they operate and how they work. So be able to provide more capabilities without human involvement. We also know that things like environmental sustainability, climate change, pollution, air, water, right? These are all extremely important elements just for us as a society. And so we wanted to blend those two concepts together. How can technology innovation, IoT, and other types of technologies like AI, ML, and cloud be utilized to address problems around environment and sustainability? And so that's the theme of this particular hackathon. It's blending those two worlds together and wanting to see what creative and innovative ideas you can come up with in order to drive change in that particular area. So we want to make sure you're bringing, we're looking for creative technology ideas and how they're going to address this area. And again, we want to leverage the growing capabilities around sensors and devices and cloud and all these kinds of things really to drive these solutions. So it's really easy to get started. And we will be presenting or providing everybody who's joined today's session with a link to Hacker Earth, which is where the hackathon itself is going to be hosted. So expect in the next week or so that you'll be receiving a link that will describe how you go to Hacker Earth and how you can get more information on how you submit, how you can join, how you register, what the judging criteria is, what the team structure looks like, what the themes of the hackathon are going to be. All the information will be made available to you shortly on the Hacker Earth website. So we'll be sending that out very, very soon once we finalize the site and publish it. And again, you can expect that in the next week or so. You definitely want to check this one out. There are some fantastic prizes. There's some great prizes associated with this one. So you definitely want to check this one out. So just to kind of give you a snapshot of what you can look forward to from TIBCO Labs in 2022. Of course, we still got the great work that we're doing around our existing projects. We've got the evolution of the projects to products. We also have other projects related to things like natural language processing, augmented reality, and so on. So a lot of the work will happen around these projects, but there's also going to be some new areas. And just as I mentioned, we've had some core themes for 2021. We've also identified core themes for 2022. And those are going to be things like IoT and edge analytics. That one is going to carry over. We're also going to focus more on data, open data, data journeys, data tracking, really some of these issues around how you know where data is being consumed and how you make it available. We're going to look at automation more broadly. So I mentioned process mining being one element of automation, but there's many other aspects. And so we're going to cover that in 2022 under the TIBCO Labs umbrella. And then also the idea of the next generation of digital applications. How do I create composite applications? How do I even get into the world of metaverse apps? We all saw the announcement from Facebook. I'm not saying that TIBCO Labs is going to build the equivalent of Facebook or Meta now, as it's called, but we do see data and the delivery of that data being a very, very key component, of course, of metaverse applications. And so we are going to be talking about that in 2022. So be sure to check out our webinars and other information in that area. And fingers crossed, there is a book that will be coming out in 2022. This will be a book actually on the use of blockchain and blockchain-related technologies within the enterprise. So if you're concerned around topics such as identity, if you're concerned around areas like the applicability of blockchain in data or AI/ML-related use cases, if you want to understand how zero-knowledge proofs work, where things like secure enclaves come in, if you want to understand how tokenization can play a role in the digital economy. These are the kinds of things that this book will address. So be sure to check out the link. You can pre-register for your copy, and you can be one of the first to actually receive a copy of this particular book. So hopefully that gives everybody a bit of an idea of what we've been up to in 2021. It's been a fantastic year. Team has done a fantastic job driving the initiatives forward. We've got some great customers and partners that we're collaborating with. So definitely want to thank them and really appreciate all the collaboration work that they did with TIBCO Labs. Definitely check out the Global Hackathon. Go to the Hacker Earth site in the next week or so, where you will find that particular event. So a great opportunity to really showcase how you feel climate change and the issues around environmental sustainability can be addressed through technology. And we are excited about what 2022 is going to bring. We've got some great ideas, and we look forward to working with you on other ideas as well.